Good evening, afternoon, night, morning, whenever you find a way to watch and listen to this podcast. And this is the start of a very frantic week for the Hardware Podcast channel. As yes, Selection Sunday is coming, so I'm trying to cram as many bowl projection, just bowl destination because I just love bowl games. I coined myself the Kornacki of bowls for a reason. I mean, I study this. My wife just doesn't understand honestly why I sit on my cell phone for a couple hours at a time or sit on the iPad for a couple hours at a time, just making bowl projections. But this is what I do. This is my favorite time of the year in the college football season. So, joining me today for the first of a few bowl projection shows that I will be releasing and upcoming, we'll be talking about Navy's bowl destination with my good friend Nathan Daly, as well as talking about the Sun Belt bowl picture and the Max bowl picture with the old friends of the podcast. But joining me here today is Brody of the Feathers and Field Goals podcast. And also, he's under the Twitter handle, which is how I know him more, Joe Flacco Burner, and he's probably like the lead Delaware, I guess, figure. I know there's always like the burner polls, like probably like the lead Delaware burner. So gracious with this time to talk this on short notice, talking about Delaware's first bowl appearance. Those of you that know or follow the podcast, follow my writing and everything, know that I am involved in the Lambert Trophy process as a voter. And so I just love giving a showcase to the Northeast, the programs in the Northeast, at the FBS level and at the FCS level. So, Brody, thanks for joining. And is there anything you'd like to start off with?
Well, I'd just like to say thank you, Omar, for having me on. I watch the Lambert Trophy podcasts every so often as I can. I love what you do for Northeast Ball. Of course, I saw your episode you had with the naming rights holder of the Yankee Conference recently, which is near and dear to my heart as one of my favorites. Blue Hens jerseys has the Yankee Conference logo right there on the chest. But I wanted to go all out with my Boardwalk Bowl t-shirt that I'm wearing today. Of course, custom made. They don't actually make these, but Delaware's bowl history is so rich. I thought that I had to wear the Boardwalk Bowl shirt. It's kind of usher in this new era of Delaware going to bowls again. Hasn't happened for a while with the FCS playoffs not really qualifying as bowls to anybody in any meaningful capacity. But I'm very excited to get on here and talk, and I'm just so happy to be here.
Yeah, thank you again, Brody. And like you said with the Lambert Trophy podcast, just want to give a shout out again to my partner there, Bobby of the TNT College Football Podcast. We'll be releasing that podcast later this week. I will not be on it because the recording times didn't really work out with just my duties now as a new dad. So he'll be coming out with that, but we're going to try to work something out for like a season finale before the season ends. And with, of course, every bowl eligible Lambert team having a bowl destination by next week. So going on to start a podcast, like you prefaced, Brody, Delaware has a very rich bowl history. And before I let you take the reins on this one, just a little list. For my notes, I didn't put the years down. I think that would just be too complete, or just, I guess, too tedious, really, for the listener. But among some of the destinations, this is a complete list of destinations. We have the Cigar Bowl, excuse me, for Tampa. That was the first ever bowl that Delaware attended. Then they attended the Refrigerator Bowl in Evansville, Indiana. And then after that came 5 appearances in the Boardwalk Bowl with just a variety of opponents. I know on the Wikipedia page I focus on the destinations, but I do think you guys played Grambling one year. Or am I mistaken?
That's correct. Grambling was one of the opponents in the Boardwalk Bowl.
Yeah, talk about a legendary coaching matchup: Eddie Robinson versus Tubby Raven. Like, wow. So before we go off into that one, I mean, I'm sure that's probably one of your points that you're going to talk about further. Then came an appearance in the Grantland Rice Bowl in 1974 at Tiger Stadium in Baton Rouge. The Camellia Bowl that same season in Sacramento. The Zia Bowl, probably my favorite Delaware Bowl appearance, just given my background as someone that grew up or cracked my childhood in New Mexico. And the Pioneer Bowl in Wichita Falls, Texas, where I need to pay a visit to, honestly, to that stadium out there. It's a piece of college football history, underrated piece of college football history, but just a very rich and eventful bowl history for Delaware. So I'll let you take the reins on this, Brody. Just wherever you want to, I guess, lead this discussion on Delaware's bowl history before we talk about the now. I'll let you take it.
Oh, of course. I mean, what is there else to talk about besides the Boardwalk Bowl? I mean, there's a lot to talk about, but I mean, just thinking about the Boardwalk Bowl, period. Like that's my favorite bowl game. I think it should come back personally. But besides that, like you said, a long bowl history. Trying to get this up. I didn't actually write down what their record was in these bowls necessarily, which is something that I should have done. I believe it's like 8-3, 8-4 in bowl games. But as you mentioned on the later end, the Division II playoffs included the Grantland Rice Bowl, the Zia Bowl, as well as the Pioneer Bowl, and one more that you said. I only wrote down the ones that we won. And so, as you can put together in a 74, there was one that we lost. One of the Boardwalk Bowls we lost as well. Those were the title games, I believe, for Division II at the time. But yeah, this Cigar Bowl against Rollins in Tampa. Delaware is now 2-0 all time in the state of Florida. Kind of unreal that they've only played in Florida twice. Well, let's see if that changes. I'm not sure if there's any bowl games in Florida this year. Maybe that's where the Bahamas Bowl is going to be if they don't relocate it to Frisco, Texas, like they're saying they might. The Refrigerator Bowl, of course, against Kent State, 1954. But we were talking about the Boardwalk Bowl in Atlantic City, in the AC Convention Hall. That's one that I think that they should bring back. And with the rising of Missouri State and Delaware, there is that kind of opening for 2 more bowl slots. And there's not really a bowl in the state of New Jersey or even all that close to Philadelphia, that whole metro. So I think Atlantic City, New Jersey makes perfect sense. They still hold, I believe, it used to be the A10 used to have their basketball tournament in that convention hall, if I'm not mistaken. So I think that would be pretty cool to see that converted back into the AstroTurf on concrete, a field that used to be. I mean, those are pretty much all the notes I have. Because anyone who remember those bowl games, I have been caught around campus wearing this T-shirt by people who were on the team or maybe new people on the team. I know the Blue Hen Touchdown Club is the NIL collective for Delaware, and those guys will stop me and go like, "Oh, I know people on that team," or I know people who played on the 79 national championship team. But that's pretty much where it ends. I mean, you have the Division II playoffs, but then after that, they're no longer titled as bowl games. It's just like first round, second round, then national championship game, which never had a title like a bowl game, like maybe the Division III Stag Bowl does still to this day. Kind of a short of the HBCU conference, or not conference championship game, but rather the two conferences, their group championship game. There's not really a bowl game between the FCS or Division II anymore. But now that's why I'm so excited that Delaware has risen up and has achieved 6 wins in their very first year, because that means bowl games are happening again for this program, and I'm very excited.
Yeah, and I definitely agree, honestly. Like, I agree with your excitement too. Like, I've never, I guess, really been a fan of a program that has jumped from the FCS level to the FBS level. I mean, my FCS team's Holy Cross because I spent half my childhood in Worcester, Massachusetts, near Holy Cross, but they've never made the jump, of course. So I could just imagine the excitement of being like of course, winning a national title is cool and everything, but there's just something different about the tradition, the history of bowl games, the spotlight that gets shined upon a bowl game. It's a national TV appearance. A lot of times it's a standalone game, especially a lot of the early bowl games are standalone games where a lot of those schools would not have standalone games. I guess it's maybe December Maction or weekday Conference USA. You can look at it, but still, like, it has that added shine of being a bowl game. And I think Missouri State as well. I don't know if they have any bowl appearances in the past, but I'm sure like that they can have a similar sentiment about just being able to play in a bowl game, and everything that comes with it. So it's very exciting indeed. I mean, and it's just cool just to relive and just look at some of these games that Delaware has played in, and just look at the programs that they played against, whether it be brand names like Grambling State and Morgan State. or teams that I guess leaped earlier, like UNLV and Central Michigan, to the FBS level. So, which I guess we'll talk about a little bit, a couple of those schools. But yeah, I mean, it's just an exciting time, and I'm just glad to see, more Northeast teams, playing in bowl games.
Absolutely. I've been chirped at by a couple of Villanova guys. Obviously that's going to happen. If you're a Delaware fan who's posting happy, at all, you have to be dragged down by some Nova fans. Even though most of them all cheer for the same NFL team. You're at each other's throats on Saturday, and then come Sunday, you're both cheering for the Eagles. I personally am a Ravens fan, so I don't share that sentiment. But it is just kind of funny how that works. But they were chirping at me, talking about, oh, like 6-6, like that's the best you could do in like the worst FBS conference, like da 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 da. And I'm like, I don't care, like I think that winning, even if like Villanova wins two like FCS playoff games this year, I still think there's more excitement about going to a low tier bowl game in the FBS. Like Delaware beat UConn this year, and that would be Villanova's best win, like kind of all year. That would be their Super Bowl, just by merit of not being able to play more than one FBS opponent per year. Or I guess they could, but I don't know. They probably wouldn't. But anyways, not to talk too much about people chirping me online. But yeah, where were we? What were we talking about?
Yeah, I guess that's a good segue. Just talking about how just a bowl game, I guess, has more shine or
It
more, I
does.
guess,
It does.
luster.
It
Yeah,
does.
luster.
I think that is kind of um it's even amplified by the mindset that our student athletes are going into it with. We had like an interview with Nick Minacucci, QB1, the other day on the podcast. It's up right now on Feathers and Field Goals YouTube channel if you want to watch that. About halfway through the pod, we interview QB1 Nick Minacucci about his whole year, about his like background as an athlete, but then like rising up with the chip on his shoulder. This year, he didn't start out as QB1 this year. He actually started as a QB2. How like even after starting games in the past for us, and he said that kind of pissed him off. And I mean, you can tell number more in the country from passing yards. The first Blue Hens quarterback to have 20 passing touchdowns and 10 rushing touchdowns since the 80s, I believe. So obviously that pissed him off a little bit. But he was talking about 2026 and then also this postseason. He said, but we're not done yet. He comes from the whole team comes from this background of being an FCS team where the postseason isn't meaningless. Like you as a rising FCS school have everything to prove. These are student athletes who aren't going to go into the bowl season like ready to relax on the beach. If it's a beach game, obviously, if it's Myrtle Beach or maybe the New Orleans Bowl or something, they're not looking to go down there and relax. Maybe after the game, but kind of as a rising FCS, you still have the mindset of this is the postseason. We have to get this done. It's like a winner go home game, and that's true either way. But it's maybe coming from it in a slightly different place than maybe a team who's been FBS for a long time, maybe had a disappointing year, was going into one of these like lower tier bowl games. Maybe we'll talk about some such opponents, maybe even those in the Northeast who may have had about a 6-6 or 7-5 year this year. Maybe a big state school in the middle of Pennsylvania kind of fits that, where they might even say yes to their bowl game this year because it might damage the brand. That sort of conflict of interest there. But yeah, Delaware doesn't have that same compunction. They're ready to go in and win this bowl game, which you kind of love going in. Because these FCS schools, when they rise up, they've got a chip on their shoulders. They're mad. They're looking to win games in a way that maybe a complacent, mid to bottom tier FBS school kind of doesn't have the same drive. Specifically when it comes to postseason games like this.
Yeah, and I think that's a great point because if you look at just the small sample size of a recent like FCS to FBS transitions in bowl games. They are, I want to say, 2-1 with Sam Houston winning their New Orleans Bowl last year, or Jacksonville State winning the New Orleans Bowl the year before that, and then the one loss was James Madison, but that was against the Service Academy, which like they don't have guys sit out and they're facing the triple option. So I think that's just like a great point, before we go into like destinations and opponents, just like about these transitioning schools, like they have something to prove that like they belong. So going into destinations, so for me, for my projections on Redshirt Sports that I do every week, just based off the past and everything, I had you guys going into I was about to call it the Lending Tree Bowl, but the 68 Ventures Bowl in Mobile, just because Delaware is kind of awkward in location, and the fact that, of course, it's in the Northeast. The only Northeast bowl game that's really available to the group of five is the Fenway Bowl, which usually goes to the top finisher or one of the top finishers in the American. So that one wouldn't really be vacated for Delaware, especially with a 6-6 record. So with that being said, like, I mean, what do you do with the school that's not exactly a great geographic fit? You stick them where no one else really wants to go. And there is precedent to that. Like in 2021, Liberty as an independent played in that bowl game when they didn't have a bowl tie-in. And then 2022, Rice played in that one as well as a 5-7 school, which like one of my favorite statistics recently is if Rice were to be bowl eligible this year, they would have made a bowl in 3 of the last 4 years, which it doesn't seem that way. But, because Rice just seems they just seem to exist. Like their fans are pretty cool. I've been on a couple of their podcasts, or I've been on one of their podcasts at Shout Out at the Roost. But
aren't they one of the triple option teams?
They are one of the triple option teams. So I like them even more now. I've always had a soft spot for just Rice and their history, but
I had to cheer against them in week 14, obviously, to make this all happen. But I mean, besides that, I like Rice just fine.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, I had you guys playing against Toledo in that one, which honestly, like, I think that's a good first bowl opponent in terms of just a brand name, because Toledo, of course, they're in the MAC, but they are like one of the most consistent programs in the group of five. I mean, if you were to ask a casual fan just to name 2 programs in the MAC, they'll probably tell you Northern Illinois and Toledo, honestly. So,
I mean, they might tell you Akron and Kent State for the wrong reasons.
Oh yeah, yeah, that too, or UMass actually.
Or UMass, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, who am I to punch down at our brothers from the A10 over there in UMass?
Yeah,
I hate punching down with them. It feels so sad. I just want them to be good. Maybe more than they want them to be good sometimes. But I don't know. It's not so much like UConn and JMU, like where I want them to be like ass all the time. But like I've seen like UMass be bad for like such a long time. I just want them to be good finally, because they were like kind of a wagon in the FCS. Anyways, moving on. We had a bowl.
Yeah. So I mean, that's the destination I had, and I guess like the backup for that one, just using the same reasoning. I would hate to say this, but the Frisco Bowl in I guess in Frisco at the Ford Center at the Star, the 12,000 seat venue. I already have a Mountain West team playing in that one, just because I don't think a Mountain West team would travel particularly well to a game in the middle of the week. For the same reason too, like for that one, I have Fresno State playing that one 8-4, I believe, in the Mountain West, which would be a huge step up. But again, another recognizable Group of 5 program for Delaware. Currently, I think I have Missouri State. I'm forgetting my own bowl projections, but I think I have either Louisiana or Missouri State playing in that one. Just checking that really quick. I have I have Southern Miss in that one instead of Delaware. But yeah, I think those are the top 2 options as an amateur bowl projector. Who I think I had 8 hits last year. So I mean, I'm kind of moving up a little bit. I had 8 hits, whether it be like teams in bowls or like complete matchups. But yeah, I have Delaware going to either Mobile or Frisco. So I guess what are your thoughts on that?
Oh, no matter what, I'm hoping for a warm weather bowl. You mentioned that the only Northeastern bowl that would really like be open to us is like none of them, I guess, like, and that's kind of what I'm trying to avoid personally. Don't want to see the Military Bowl in Annapolis because we can play there anytime, as long as they schedule us, which, has been few and far between, as we've talked about in the past. Not never, mind you, like a Temple maybe, but few and far between, or the Fenway Bowl, the Pinstripe Bowl, that sort of thing, which wouldn't be open to us anyways. I think what I'm really looking for and what I really hope hits, my prediction um, is the Myrtle Beach Bowl against Georgia Southern. I really hope that one hits because that's driving distance for most Delaware fans. It's also driving distance for most Georgia Southern fans. It's one of those like early 2000s FCS wagon rematches. You know, Georgia Southern moved up around that time. They were winning national titles at the time. Of course, that's when Delaware won their national title in 03. I believe Georgia Southern won theirs between 99 and 2000, like 2002. Just off the top of my head, I'm not sure if that's exactly right, but they were a wagon around that time right before moving up. So I think that'd be really cool. We have family friends down there who go to Coastal, so it'd be nice just to go down. I'm not sure if they're there for winter or if they came back up to Maryland, but you know, I think that would just be nice. But like the warm weather, I think is a necessity for me as an onlooker. I went down to Wake Forest. I dragged my girlfriend with me down to Wake to watch that debacle that took place, that utter debacle that took place. And it was so nice. It felt like it felt like 80 down there, and I had to take off my windbreaker. And it was just beautiful. And I've heard that Myrtle Beach can have cold snaps, but that's what I'm hoping for is Myrtle Beach. But I mean, any warm weather bowl, I think Mobile will be just fine. I have friends in Birmingham I can see on the way down, you know, that sort of thing. Um, yeah, I'm not sure exactly what I'm looking for. I don't think a lot of Delaware fans are very picky, as long as it's like on this side of the Mississippi. And they can either drive there or take a local flight out of Wilmington. I think no matter what, you're going to see a lot of Blue Hens fans at whichever bowl we go to, because I mean the whole fan base is just thrilled.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree. Like, I think that you guys are going to show up very strong, honestly, like just with how big your fan base is and like being a flagship school and just with how big of an occasion this is. I will say with one caveat though, the Myrtle Beach Bowl, like Georgia Southern did play in that one 2 years ago. So I do think you might draw a different Sun Belt school. For that one right now, I have Arkansas State projected in the Myrtle Beach Bowl just because it's kind of they're kind of an awkward fit. They appeared in an Alabama Bowl last year, so it's another one of those, where do we place these guys? Like, we'll just place them here in Myrtle Beach, which tends to happen with UConn making that bowl in 2022. And actually Tulsa in 2021 was pretty random. So ESPN does tend to do that. And also UTSA last year. They do tend to throw random schools in Myrtle Beach just cause, honestly. So
I
that
think that
one
looks good
definitely.
for us in that way then. I mean, because as of right now, Delaware is one of those random schools that I don't think they'll quite know what to do with really in the same way that you're describing, hopefully for my purposes.
Yeah, it's always kind of funny, like what, like how they do that. Like for 2021, especially like with that Myrtle Beach Bowl, which I was at that one. I actually drove. I had a half day at work. Instead of, I was kind of cheap with my leave. Instead of taking the whole day of leave, I was like, oh, well, they'll just let us off in the morning. That was not the case. They let us off at 12, so I spent like the next like 2 or 3.5 hours like trying to speed to miss as little of the game as possible. Showed up in the second half. But yeah, like that one's like Old Dominion Tulsa, a very like random matchup. I think only like 6,000 fans showed up for that one. In 2024, when they put UTSA, like the only saving grace was the fact that it was like a Coastal Carolina home game essentially, where they put the Chanticleers there. But I think the fans were just very disinterested. I think the attendance was pretty bad for that one because like everyone, like all the Chanticleer fans, were just kind of sick of Tim Beck's shtick at that point. So, and it
Yeah.
showed. It showed on game day with the Chanticleers. But yeah, like you said, I think there's value in just being like that random team that no one knows like what to do with. But yeah, the Myrtle Beach Bowl is definitely a great destination. A bit gimmicky, I will say. I think the shine of the teal turf has you know, kind of lost its shine to the national media / national public, but
The surf
it's still a
turf.
great bowl. Yeah, the surf turf. Yeah. So, but yeah, like that one is definitely like a good destination, I think. Um, Going on to opponents, is there any opponent in the group of five, I guess, that you would desire to play the most?
Oof. So my list of teams that are bowl eligible, I don't have them memorized the way that I have memorized the teams that are bowl ineligible, because that was where my focus was up to this point. I can tell you every team who's bowl ineligible. I can tell you about the Auburns and the Baylors, the Colorados of the world, but I don't have a big list of teams that are bowl eligible. Besides maybe the ones that we've beaten along the way to get to where we are. I've had to do a lot of propagandizing, kind of on Twitter to plant our flag, that even though we lost to Sam Houston this year, which we did do in embarrassing fashion, Delaware's also beaten 3 bowl eligible teams on the way to get there. And that's really all I know. So, I mean, you could read me off a list of bowl eligible teams, and I would tell you which ones are cool. But I don't know. I'm looking for like a semi-geographic fit, maybe a Sun Belt school. We beat Louisiana Tech this year. If we want any kind of odds at getting into the Sun Belt East at any point in our history, then proving that we're proving that we're formidable against Sun Belt opponents like Louisiana Tech will be, maybe in a bowl game. That would be great for the brand. Obviously, maybe I know that Temple isn't one of those teams that made a bowl game this year because I made sure of it by manifesting that they would lose their last 2 in the first year of the Casey Keeler experiment. I shouldn't call it an experiment. That's a little mean. He did win us a national title. It's not his fault that we got rid of him too early. But if they were eligible, I'd love to see Temple. Navy is not one of those teams I would like to see. I think they would probably blow us out in a way that's embarrassing for the brand. We did beat them most recently, so I wouldn't want to see them in a year that they're really good. Yeah, so I really don't know. I mean, kind of as I mentioned previously, I'm kind of open to anybody. I think the whole fan base, just by nature of where we are in this transitionary period, would be open to just about anybody. Georgia Southern, I think I mentioned, they would be a good kind of historic opponent for Delaware, just in terms of the Paul Rudd gif of "Hey man, look at us," basically. Look at where we are now. Yeah, but I don't know, and I think a lot of the Blue Hens fan base don't really care either. As long as it's not some random opponent that we have no business playing, more like a Power 5 opponent, which I don't think that they would give us, because it would just cap off the season the wrong way to end on that note.
Yeah, for me, I'm the same way too. Whenever Army makes a bowl, I'm just I just care more about the destination, especially last year for the Independence Bowl with that whole fiasco. I mean, at first it was cool, playing or supposedly play Marshall, another conference champion, getting revenge for the iconic Randy Moss touchdown. That everyone always plays. That's the first clip they always play when they reflect on Randy Moss's college career. But after everything that happened, most Army fans were so mad because they saw it as some statement, to win the Independence Bowl. But I just wanted the trophy, and that was even better to play a 5-7 Louisiana Tech team, and honestly, I mean, so I'm just glad just to win the bowl game itself. I don't care who we play, for the most part, it's just being there in the bowl game, against anybody. It's just
Exactly. Yeah, I
Yeah,
think
so
that's kind of the mindset that Delaware players have as well, is that there's still kind of that FCS playoff headspace. We don't care who it is, don't care where it is. We're just going to go in there and try and win. And I think that's what's so exciting about this first postseason appearance, is I think that the whole team kind of does still have that playoff atmosphere, that playoff mentality going in, maybe in a way that our opponent won't. And I don't know, maybe we'll end up with a 7-6 record when it's all said and done, just based on that kind of attitude alone. Of course, that's what you're hoping going into any game, is that you'll win it. But just putting that out there.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and like we discussed earlier, just the stat with the transitioning programs just having relative success in bowl games too. So I'm excited for wherever you guys land. I'm kind of getting anxious because I think tomorrow we might get the first bowl game drop, the first bowl matchup. Typically, there's a couple that just like get dropped like before Selection Sunday. But I feel like last year we already got a bowl matchup by Wednesday of a conference championship weekend, but we have none so far. So I think tomorrow is the big day where we get our first bowl matchup and our first puzzle piece. But Brody, yeah, thank you for joining. Do you have anything final to add? Or just plug? I mean, if you want to plug the podcast or just anything final you want to end this podcast on.
Yeah, I'll plug the podcast. I mentioned earlier, Heathers and Heel Goals is the podcast. We also have a website that we put out. I mean, up to this point, we had bowl trackers. Now we have bowl location tracker up on the website. I'm not the one who's writing that. Otherwise, I would have had much more to talk about. But we have the website, but we also have the podcast, which is on YouTube. But then it's also on your like audio kind of places like Apple and Spotify and all the other places that you would get podcasts. We had an interview with Nick Minacucci this week, and we have a lot coming down the pipe during the off season. Of course, National Signing Day today. We have a lot to talk about as well. If you are at all interested in Delaware football, Delaware basketball, really any Delaware sports, I'm going to be taking the helm for covering Delaware lacrosse as we go into spring. It's an all year here in Newark. We're covering it all. And I'm very excited to be doing this pod because it's kind of a gap in the market. We're the only ones doing it right now. And I'm glad that it's kind of catching on. People are caring about Delaware football this year in a way that they maybe never have, kind of outside the fan base, that is. Getting those national media looks and stuff. So yeah, feathers and field goals. And that's pretty much it for me. Go follow me on Twitter at Joe Flacco Burner. I'm less measured and rational on that account. I allow myself to be a little crazy, a little shit talky on there. But in person, I'm a very well mannered, nice guy. Maybe not so much on the internet sometimes, but that's only if people chirp me first. But yeah, that's pretty much all. Thank you so much, Omar, for having me on the pod. Like I said, I'm a periodic listener. Hesitate to say weekly, but I do try to tune in as long as I see you on my homepage on YouTube. That Yankee Conference episode was one of my favorites that you've done recently, and of course all the Lambert Trophy coverage. Of course, Delaware winning a lot of Lambert Cups in their time at a lower level. We're competing for that Lambert Trophy now, and that's pretty surreal. So yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I tend to ramble when it comes to things like this. So I just want to cap it up by saying thank you for having me. It was a blast. And roll hands.
Yeah, well, thank you for joining, Brody, and just keep up the great work, honestly, for just Delaware athletics in general. Like, I know I fall into the trap of being a football only guy, so I can't imagine just like you guys just like going the whole 9 yards with like lacrosse and all the sports, especially lacrosse too. Like, people keep telling me that as for football, the Army side that I write for and occasionally appear on their podcast. Dano, the head man, said, he's like, you should try to get into lacrosse. It's action packed. I just don't know if I can do it.
It's like spring football, essentially. It's I have a friend who played lacrosse in college, D3. Shout out Nichols, in Massachusetts, if you're familiar. But it's the fastest sport on grass. That's what she always says. It's the fastest sport on grass, and it really is. It's action packed. I never really cared about lacrosse until very recently. I had to find something to fill my springs with besides DC Defenders UFL football, which I also have been watching a lot of. But of course, you won't hear that. I'm on the Feathers and Field Goals podcast, but lacrosse is coming. It's kind of I don't know. It's kind of like spring football, the way that they hit each other, but also just how quick it is, and it's there's a lot to love there. If you like, I don't know, if you like football, give lacrosse a try. Give it an honest try. It's not quite the same game, but there's a lot of the same sorts of athletics kind of taking place on the oftentimes in the same stadiums as your favorite college football teams. So
yeah, exactly. I mean, even when I was a cadet, like Army Navy lacrosse, the doubleheader was a huge deal. I just never made it to Mikey. I would rather honestly like just take a nap in my barracks than walk up and watch lacrosse, a sport I wasn't that familiar with. But we do
Yeah.
have a neutral site game against Michigan this year. Where that is, I don't know, but maybe that'll be my the first Army lacrosse game that I take in, honestly, ever.
That would be cool. Maybe a good atmosphere for that, because they take their lacrosse seriously in the Big Ten as well.
Yeah, I didn't know that, honestly. I know that like it's a huge deal in the Northeast, and I do know the running joke about how Syracuse never plays road games. That's something that I am aware. And it's funny that like I think it's funny too, just the lack of knowledge I have of lacrosse in general, because I had a roommate like for 2 semesters that was on the lacrosse team, and honestly, I think it just went in one ear and out the other. Like he would just like try to talk to me about it. I'm like, yeah, and then just
Yeah.
like continue working on like on homework and stuff.
It's one of those things that, like, until it clicks for you, it's so easy to ignore. I went to, the Johns Hopkins, Delaware spring game, and that was action-packed. Of course, Johns Hopkins being D3 for, most sports, but then, in the Big Ten for lacrosse. A huge, huge lacrosse program out there in Baltimore, very close to where I live, in Stevensville. Um, if you're familiar with Kent Island, Maryland, the most beautiful spot in the Chesapeake, um, there's a wagon over there in Baltimore with Johns Hopkins, and Delaware tied them in spring, or in a hall ball rather is what I meant to say. And that's super exciting for the program. I hope that's a success they can bring into spring ball. But yeah, I mean lacrosse, there's not a whole lot I can say about it right now. Of course, we don't have a lot to talk about yet, but I mean when the time comes, lacrosse is going to be um I'm not sure if I'm like all the way in on it yet. There's still stuff I have to learn. There's a lot of nitty-gritty stuff that you have to learn when it comes to like covering a new sport. But I'm gonna try to get there for our listeners, because I know that people really take lacrosse seriously in this region. It's a big sport at Delaware. It's one of our big like 3 or 4 sports that we have at Delaware. Of course, won a national title in the '80s. Then moved up to Division One, and now, in the CAA for a long time, and now we're in the A10 for lacrosse, which is big.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll definitely be on the lookout too for your guys' coverage of lacrosse too, just to try to, I mean, just as like a way just to kind of get more understanding of the game itself, if I'm going to try to be a full Army athletics supporter, so of all sports. But again, Brody, thank you again for joining. Really appreciate this conversation. Always love talking balls with anyone. This is just great just talking with a fellow fan of Northeast College football as well. And for everyone watching and listening, just thank you for tuning in. And until next time, everyone, peace, love, and soul in the Burger Popper.